All right, good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel Pertut, and welcome to another edition of the Original Free Kick. We were able to attend the presser of Atlanta United interim manager, Rob Valentino today on July 11th, 2024. And we're going to get to that video in a moment. Before we get started, as always, to follow everything that we do, go to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look us up under Marcel Petite or Sports Inquirer, and you'll be able to find us. And then finally, you're able to go to our audio and video platforms on places such as Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And on there, just once again, search for me, Marcel Petite or the Sports Inquirer, and you'll be able to find us there. So, as I mentioned, this is the edition of the Original Free Kick where we have the presser of Atlanta United interim manager Rob Valentino as the team prepares to face Montreal on the road on July 13th. Topics included the departure of Caleb Wiley with the transfer to Chelsea, dealing with the overall roster and the movement with Yorgos Giakoumakis not being with the team anymore, Thiago Almada with this transfer, and just everything that's been going on there. Also with the players having versatility in lineup rotation where they play on the field. So he delves into that, implementing some new players onto the squad and the actual preparation for this upcoming match at Montreal in MLS play on July 13th. Let's get right to the video.
Jamal probably will be. We'll have to check and see how everything felt today. But I think Edwin is still a little bit away.
Okay. Was this Amador's first training session with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just arrived, I believe, last night, or yesterday afternoon. So yeah, this is the first time with the group. So
were you able to talk to him?
Yeah. We chatted, but just everything just obviously real brief. Like he's integrated. He's going to integrate with the team, and there's time now before he can actually play. But yeah, brief conversations, and then he's meeting teammates and things like that. But and he can communicate with a few of them in Portuguese, so that's great.
Okay,
Makes him feel a little more welcome.
Curious if you're considering maybe going from the three center backs to maybe two center backs, trying to get extra midfielder, see if you can maybe get something going a little bit better in the attack.
Yeah, I mean, I always, like I told you guys before, I always take each game as it comes. Like whether it's one more midfield, like we have, I would say 4 central midfielders, and then from there, like we have like Nick Firmino that can kind of play a little bit of both. Like he's had to play as like a false nine in the last game, which wasn't perfect and ideal, but he's somebody that can fill multiple positions. It's just about what suits the game. I think some consistency is important too. At the moment, like I think the results aren't going to dictate what we do every single time. They are important, but like I don't think that's causing us the issues.
Okay.
But I also think at the end of the day, like we have to look at what we have and how we can get better opportunities. I do think we are scoring goals still, regardless, which is always a good thing. Can we create more? Yeah, 100%. Can we be better in a lot of different ways? Yes. I don't know if that's going to be the solve yet, but trust me, it's something that we think about all the time. We've had debate about whether it's back four, or whether it's the way the midfield shape is, or whether it's the way the forwards are playing, or where they're playing. So we're looking at every possibility we can, always.
What are some options at left back now that Caleb's coming?
I mean, we've got some versatility in a guy like Ronald. Matt Edwards has played in that position before. He's pretty versatile. Luis Abram is somebody that can play in that position. It's like, again, it's not only that position, it's like what you highlight around it, and the strength of the rest of the team around it. So yeah, even at the end of the Open Cup game, we're just trying to push numbers forward, and with the substitutions we made and things like that. So even Luis found himself up in a higher position than I'm sure he would have normally been. But yeah, we've got other options. Maybe not an out-and-out left back, but people that can do a job.
So, I want to ask about Tristan. What have you thought of his performance in general this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tristan he's a really talented player. I really enjoy working with Tristan. Great kid, great worker. In terms of the other, like I actually had a chat with him this morning just about a lot of different things. Like I think he was hard on himself, rightfully so, or however he wanted to handle it. But like he lost the ball and then they hit us in transition, and if you give Tristan that ball 10 times, I don't think he loses it. Maybe once, but the one time it happens, and I think he felt obviously responsible or something like that for that. I think, like I've said with a lot of these guys, I feel like we can get more out of them. He's somebody that has got an interesting skill set where I think he can play as a 6, he can play as a little bit of an 8, but he's like almost like a hybrid position. It's just about setting him up and others around him to make sure that the team is successful in those ways and that his qualities can show well or better, or however we can get him kind of ticking better.
I would ask about that in particular. It seemed when he arrived, he had a lot of freedom, almost because he was just new and he didn't have the instructions down as far as what I wanted from him tactically. Yeah, this year it's felt maybe almost rigid for him a little bit. Has that helped or hurt?
I don't know. I mean, I think that there's difference. He'll be playing differently than he played in the beginning part of the season,
Right.
probably because I would like there to be some more fluidity, some more freedom. Again, using that word like a little bit loosely, like it's not that he does whatever he wants, but letting him make sure he can go and express himself. Like we were talking about the New England game in specific, like he played in the midfield 3, but like it didn't mean that he needed to be the one that's creating the attack all the time, but he can do it in a deeper position, whether he goes on the carry on the dribble, or he looks to combine with people. So it's trying to set him up in the ways that highlight his like skill set. So it's a work in progress, and like again, the whole team. I think there are some times where you see things that we've been talking about, whether it's counter movements and players moving into space that they are creating themselves, and I think that will help him because I think that's a little bit of what he's like. You said when he came, like he was moving into space freely, he was moving like that. That's what we want out of him, things like that. So there's small glimpses where you see, and it's just about getting more of it and consistently more of it.
Montreal, it's the first time in the regular season you've seen them, and they're a little bit different stylistically than some of the teams you've seen lately. You did see them in preseason. Does that help that you at least have a little bit of knowledge of how they play?
Yeah, I mean, it did for sure. Like it's not that they've changed, but in preseason they were like really trying to implement their ideas and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like to a fault. Like they were doing everything like they could to play out from the back, play out from goal kick, and like really credit to the coach and the rest of the players. Like they were really trying to execute and that's what preseason's for. Like make the mistakes, those things like that would happen. They look like they're more refined at it, so they're better in a lot of ways, and it'll be a tough challenge for us. They're a good team. I think the coach is a great coach. He's done a really good job with the players that he's got. You know, there's other familiar faces on the other side that we'll be looking to see, and yeah, it'll be a tough challenge for us.
I wanted to ask you about Jay as well, how you've used his positioning at times wider on the right, something that I don't think we've seen much from him. Is there something you were looking for either in the team or in his game in that position? Yeah,
it's probably an interesting one that everyone goes, what's he doing here? That's fine. People question that, right? But it was a debate, and all of a sudden I thought like he would fit perfect because I think he does a good job in the half spaces. He can find pockets of space that he can receive the ball, and he's comfortable going forward on the dribble. And I didn't think we needed more of like the debate was whether you need a winger option or you need an in the pocket type player. I felt like we needed somebody like Johnny. So he has the physical attributes that he can cover ground defensively, that he can do the pressure and all that. And then he also has the skill set to play in between lines, and he can do things differently. He can do it with a pass, he can do it with a dribble, and I'm not asking him to dribble people with pace, but he can do it where once he breaks the first line, he can go on the dribble and then make the final pass. Whereas if you're looking at a winger option, it might be more out and out, 1v1 and then across in the box. That's not what I would be looking for a Johnny to do. So when we had made those changes with him in those positions, was that in mind of like how can he unlock a team that way? Whether it works or not works, that's where we have to reflect on those decisions.
Do you feel like the game's kind of going in that direction a little bit more, where it's not this is a position you play and that's it? It's more about this is what you bring to the table and this is what I need out of this position.
Yeah, I think that you see a lot of times like their coaches like tinker with different ways of playing and fullbacks inside, outside, wherever they play. I just look at guys that I had a coach tell me a long time ago, like, you're a soccer player. Because when I played, I was playing left back, center back, right back, defensive midfielder, and I was like kind of confused, like, where can I hone in on? He's like, wherever you get on the field. And I'm not saying that that's what we do with these guys, but it is important that if we see a skill set that they might have that we can utilize in a different position, it gets them on the field. It's good for them because they all want to play, and then it's good for the team if we think it can benefit. Like Johnny, like you're just bringing him up because he's played right back before.
Yeah.
He's done things like that. So I think that that's a credit to him that he's got that versatility. Now they all want to hone in on one thing and then be the solid starter, but that versatility in guys that can be effective is really important, and making sure that it's not affecting everybody else. I think that's where it becomes like, where I see a difference in when you watch teams around the world, is like sometimes people are putting things in there and you're like, leave them, don't do that. But this is not a case with the Johnny. I think he has the skill set to play in different positions that can help the team.
You probably haven't heard this phrase before, but is this a 6-pointer on Saturday?
No, I mean, they're all big games. Every single game we want to win, and like I've touched on that before. The outcome's always, we always want that outcome. You only get 3 points for it. If we get 6 for it, someone can call me and tell me. But they're all really important at this point. Like we don't stress any more importance or less importance to the games. They're all really important.
And you've talked about a few times now not wanting to make the same mistakes again. Are you seeing some of the same mistakes again?
Not entirely. I mean, we went from Salt Lake to this game, the Open Cup game, and we hit on set pieces right away. Set pieces, like, there was a little more alertness to it. Still not perfect, but like a little more alertness to it. And then we get done in transition moments, 2 transition moments. So there's a new mistake. Not great, but it's like, okay, now you got to go and hammer at that maybe. Or I do see the team making some progress. In my opinion, I see the team making some progress in certain areas. We talked about counter movements a little bit. I see some of that. And then in the first half of the Salt Lake game, if you look at defensive shape and that doesn't matter what formation we play. If our defensive shape can be solid and we can be hard to beat in some areas and turn those into attacking chances for us, then I think we have a really good chance to turn us into a different type of team with a different skill set. So I think we have good attackers, and we can get more out of them maybe, but also at the same time, I think there's been a knock on the team about defending. If we can get better at that, and you talk about one thing we can really go at, if we can get better at that, then we can look at, all right, now we've got some different skill sets here, and we can tap into some different things in different games.
And the players you mentioned as possible left backs, do you also see them able to play as left wing backs too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I would say most of them. They'll look at it's a complement of whether maybe they're a left wing back, or maybe they're just the left back and they're in a 4. Mm-hmm. It'll be obviously what's around them, physically where everybody's at, the opponent we're playing, like what they bring as well. I would say I get it. There's limitations. Like Caleb's gone. He's not here. But I told you guys before, who's not here is not my point of it's not my concern right now. It's not my worry. I have to think about what we have here and how we can get the best. We don't have a natural left back.
Right.
That is what it is. And we'll go after what we got.
And then last one for me, how do you begin to integrate Amador into the team and into the tactics and the things that you want to see out of him as a soccer player?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing today was that the first thing he was in was a video session that we did preparing for the upcoming opponent, looking at some film review from some of the last games from a defending standpoint, and then we did a whole team defensive walkthrough about knowing roles, responsibilities, and we touched on our shape that we're in now and then shape that we could play in the future. So right away he got right into it, so that's great. And then the familiarity, I think, will come. I think we need to see a base of where his fitness level is at. So he'll get that time in the time before he's actually available to play. So he'll have that to integrate, and then he'll hopefully have time as he sees the games, and he's in every video session, in every team meeting that he can see as we got these next couple games coming up before he can play.
All right, we're back. And that was interim manager for Atlanta United, Rob Valentino, as the team prepares to face Montreal on the road and face we'll see what happens in that contest. We'll be reunited on the same pitch as Joseph Martinez, one of the legendary former 5 stripers that led the team to MLS championship, MVP. And if you're listening to or watching this edition of the original Free Kick, you know exactly his credentials. So we'll see. It'd be good to see Joseph on the pitch, hopefully, for that matchup. But just overall, the team is in complete transition as far as Rob being the new interim manager, Caleb, the announcement, I don't think it's official, but he's moving to Chelsea, obviously, with Thiago Almada and Yorgos Giakoumakis. They've already transferred and are transitioning to their new teams as well. So it's a lot of upheaval with the Atlanta United squad, and they still have to play matches. They were eliminated from the U.S. Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup by Indy this past few days ago during midweek. So team is just trying to transition and figure it all out. But we'll have post-match analysis of the contest against Montreal and much more. And to get that, as always, follow everything that we do at the mothership, the sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also go to our social media platforms on Twitter/X, Instagram, and Facebook, and find us on there. And finally, make sure you like, subscribe, and share on our audio and video platforms, such as YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and much more. Thank you for listening and watching this latest edition of the Original Free Kick. Until next time, good fight, good night, be safe.